we'll have this discussion.
Discussion? What discussion?
This is a discussion.
Combustion.
Coming to you from Denver, Colorado, this is Discussion Combustion Podcast with your hosts, Kevin Batstone and Arthur Raw.
Yo, man.
Yeah, your chest looks nice too. You've been working out, man.
Yeah, dude, I do my bench presses. Nah, just, I try to keep in shape.
That's good, man. I have lost a little bit of that since I've been in the booze business.
Yeah.
Just sitting around, not really moving as much and drinking too much beer. That bottom button's getting that test. It might fling off mid-ep. We don't know yet.
We'll just find out. I mean, I try to just do a little bit of something every day. Ironically enough, a couple days ago, I did a Johnny Sins workout.
What is that?
Johnny Sins? No.
Johnny Sins. That Johnny Sins, a famous porn star. You've probably seen him. He's on the Step Bro meme, like the bald dude with the bulging eyes. I don't know if you guys have seen that at all, but he has I happen to find his. Someone suggested
scooch in just a smidge, please. Thank you.
There we go. I found his YouTube channel, and he's got like a really impressive channel. And he does a lot of positive workouts just with the body and talks about his life a little bit. And it's like, man, this is a really interesting man. That I wouldn't be opposed to hanging out with him.
Well,
if
sure.
I could get past the part that he's just banging for a living, but that's also amazing.
I mean, it's a good way to make a buck if it works for you. Yeah. I wasn't blessed with that ability to look that good on camera in that regard. So instead, I'm over here, with my pants zipped up. But the fact remains, he does a workout. I want to know more about this workout.
So the one I pulled up was a yoga style workout, and it was simple. It was 20 sets of this. So you'd start off, breathe in, do a nice stretch. There's a move for all these, like the rising sun or something, but you put your arms all the way up. You have to synchronize your breathing with it. Then you go all the way down, touch your toes. And then you bring up and you put your hands on your knees and kind of stretch out your back, kind of feel the whole back pop out a little bit. Then you do one set of lunges with each leg, and then you drop down to the floor. Nice slow push-up down to the rising dog, where you're just arching up your mid or your upper chest. Then you do what I call a stripper push-up, where you put your legs apart and you have to bend. It's like you're squeezing under a fence, basically, on the floor.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what
you're like arcing your back and doing the whole I'm sexy.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And it gets your whole pec muscles. And after that, you hop on your back, you raise up with one leg, just activate your glutes, and then you raise your whole leg and hip up, and stick it straight up into the air, and then come back down. You have to do that 20 times, not really rushing it, but just kind of as consistent as you can. And I did it, and at first I was like, "This is so stupid," but I figured I'd try it out because I just wanted to do something that was a little lighter, a little bit more flexible. And because Johnny Sins promoted it, and sure enough, it was actually a really interesting workout. It was
You've been doing it consistently?
I do that workout probably once to twice a week, I'd say. That's not all I do. I'm just saying that's something that I like
something to work
do.
in.
Yeah.
Just really light, really easy. Takes 20 minutes or less.
It sounds like a lot of yoga poses, in the terminology you were using.
Right, and that's exactly. I think that's what he was going with. Or what he was going for is that it's sort of like not a hot yoga, but just like an intensive yoga-based workout. So it's still semi-intensive, but it's focusing on flexibility.
Yeah.
And, it's amazing what you can do with just, just your body and just going with, integrating yoga
calisthenics, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. And
just stretching, moving your own body weight. I do push-ups every day, but not a ton, and it's just a little checkbox that I can check. So
a little checkbox you can check.
Yeah, I need to keep checking those boxes though, man, because
I do too.
A couple push-ups in one day is all right, and I can feel the difference after months. But you're not seeing that quick result is the thing, you know. And it's so easy to get complacent, eating sugars, drinking too much beer.
Beer's what does it for me, man.
Eating the chips and shit, watching YouTube.
Eating pizza and burgers.
Yeah, it's
carbs, man.
It's so easy.
Carbs and sugars.
Easy.
Right. It's crazy. All right, you remember when we were on the plane, I told you I was joking about how I was at the time I just turned 30, right? And I was like, I just ran out of my immortality years. And it's all downhill from here. And you were like, nah, no, come on. I mean, I'm still on the peak. And at the time, I didn't believe you. I was just like, yeah, no, man, I'm done. But arguably, I got to say that this year, after turning 30, has got to be the most important year of my life.
Okay.
By far.
What's going on?
Well, it's a lot of just kind of self-reflection, and maybe it's that old age and sage wisdom all of a sudden I get of, starting to take not dramatic changes, but noticing little things in life. For example, I think everything has a choice now. I can choose to sink 12 beers if I wanted to, or I can get a good night's sleep. Whereas before, you can cheat in a lot of ways. This is when you're in your younger 20s.
That's true.
I think it's possible to do anything that you still want to do. But now a lot of it just becomes, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? There is always a price to pay for your actions, especially when it comes to your body. And a lot of that mindset is kind of what's driving why I say it's the most important year of my life, because I'm starting to see new actions at work. Like, do I want to be able to work harder, learn more things, and get promoted, or do I want to be complacent with where I'm at now? Do I want to change some of my habits so I can improve my relationship with either my friends or my girlfriend or family or whatever, or do I want to keep it the same? I think a lot of people at this have this sort of diverging path of they either get cemented with their ways, or they either get cemented with their ways, whatever those ways may be, or they realize that they have the choice to change something. I mean, and that's where it kind of comes is like I started really renovating my house a little bit more because I was sick of it being just a shithole bachelor pad area. I have a couple of roommates, and it's not like gross or anything, but it's like, you know what? I want to get some more furniture.
Yeah.
I want to finish this renovation project. Same with and like with work. I think a lot of times, especially in engineering, people decide that they've just learned enough. Maybe that's a little cynical, but like, you went through hell and back in engineering school. You went through hell and back with your master's degree if you decide to go that route. And then you kind of get to this point where you don't really feel like you want to learn any more new skills. But in reality, you always have to keep trying to learn stuff. You have to adapt to the industry. And I disagree that it's like adapt or die, but it's just adapt or get pigeonholed. In a lot of, excuse me.
No, get it out.
Well,
we're chugging some beers in here. It's
always.
Okay.
As always. But yeah, the reflection, I think, it also came around 30 for me because in my early 20s, it's because Art's known me a long time. He's known me since I was 19, I think. I'm 33 now. It's a long time. I forget sometimes how long it's been. But
yeah, I used to. Well, I won't get in trouble now, but I used to buy him booze when he couldn't.
yeah,
Nice.
this is
Could I
true.
get in trouble for that still? I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, this was allegedly, right?
Allegedly.
Yeah, I allegedly did that.
Yeah, that did happen. So, long time.
No, allegedly happened.
Allegedly, it did happen.
Right, allegedly it did
Allegedly did.
Yeah, it allegedly might have happened. But during that time, we were young, wild, and free, right? Just not a care in the world. Stay up till 4, go to work at 6:30. Can't do that anymore.
Exactly.
And like self-reflection, you said you wanted to improve your house, maybe work on your body a little bit. And for me, I didn't even get a professional haircut until I was 27.
Right.
And now I go every 3 weeks, shout out Susie, I'm going to see you in the morning, right? Like, it's just those little adjustments. That's what I started to notice around that 30 mark. Like, okay, I want to take more pride in, not necessarily pride, but I want to appreciate things a little differently. Maybe I want to invest instead of blowing my money at a club or, some dumb shit. I'm going to save up and buy me a nice new couch.
Yeah.
Something that has a little bit more value to me, right? I feel like that came a little bit as I got closer to 30.
And it's not even it's not even broad sweeping changes. It's refinement in your life, I think. And not to say that, if you're an addict, you can change your life at any point in time. Well, I mean, with the right support and et cetera, et cetera. You can always make sweeping changes for good or bad. But I think for the majority of people, it is, and for me, personally, it's nothing's bad. I don't have any seething problems that I need to fix. Anything that's just life threatening or threatening my way of life, I should say. But I do see things, I've been living in my house for 4 years. Or just shy of 4 years. There's a lot of junk. Like I keep it clean, but like I can just see the accumulation of stuff in my closets that just go into the abyss and are never seen again. And it's like I want to clean that up. I want to get my office to be a good minimalist workspace.
Perfect.
Which I continue to suck at doing.
It's hard to do sometimes.
Right. And the acceptance of you only have time to do so many things in a day. A hard one that I recently learned was that sometimes you have to know when to let go of certain relationships. Like if you have some toxic friends in your life or something,
I was just about to say something like that, man, because once you start figuring yourself out and you start figuring out what's like important to you, then you're cheating yourself if you don't fulfill that, because you know that, right? And if you're being honest with yourself, and so I'm at that same point where like I'm trimming the fat. Like if things aren't working for me and like it's not where my headspace is at, and friends, family, all above, everybody's susceptible to getting trimmed out because I need to surround myself with people that are go-getters, that are driving themselves, that are working hard, because that's what I need. Like I can't let my foot off the gas. Like I'm coming up on a year of sobriety from opiates right now, and like life has changed for me, and like I won't ever be complacent like I was in the past. And talking about like working and growing and constant growth and stuff like that, what I think about that is that it's important but it's all about a perception. I think the word work like is kind of negative. People, I gotta work, I'm working, so instead of that, I'm just telling myself I'm productive every day. Every single day I'm going to be productive. If that's logging on to work for an hour and doing that, or cleaning up, or cleaning out the closet, throwing away some old shit that I haven't touched in 2 years. Look, if you haven't touched it, Darius, in a couple of years,
it's
time to just throw that shit out.
I am the worst about that. I will have stuff collect dust for thousands of years before I throw it away. I would rather it sit there hoping that it becomes useful again than to throw it in the trash. I'm so bad about that. I've started giving away a lot of older stuff that I have, like video game stuff. Like I just gave away a joystick and a desk lamp to one of my friends yesterday, because I was like, I know I'm never going to use this. I just replaced both these things or a while ago or whatever, and I know I'm never going to use this again. Yeah. So
that's a good start,
right? I mean, you got to start small.
You got to start small. You got to start somewhere. I love the idea of minimalism, and that's one thing that's nice about moving. If that's in the cards, is every time I move, I get rid of so much shit, to the point where like I got a roll off dumpster one time when I was. That's how much shit I got rid of. Wow. Granted, old furniture I didn't want to take with, things of that nature. It was just easier. But when you have that availability to just throw anything you want in there, man, I'm about it. I have so much shit that I lugged around for years that literally would just go from closet to closet and never be utilized.
Okay, so worst example of this is I had my bottom drawer in my dresser was my sock drawer. And that sock drawer was full, all right? And I had socks in there since I was like 15. So I'd had socks.
How did they not have holes in them?
That I had for like over 15 years.
There's no way they lasted that long. They just didn't get worn.
Yeah, but you have so many pairs, and so like I started throwing out the socks. I started throwing out all this shit, dude, and like some of it had sentimental value, and I'm like, nah, fuck that, and I threw that away too. And the thing is, like, once you start decluttering physically, it helps your mental declutter as well, because you have less things to eat. Even though you might not know what it is or what the inventory is in the back of the closet, you still know there's shit in there. And then the second you remove that, it creates this mental space that you can occupy with something
grow
else.
with. And out of sight, out of mind comes into play too, right? You stuff it in the garage, you stuff it in the closet. You know it's there, but it's out of sight, out of mind, right? It's not something that you're constantly looking at every day, like, oh, I hate this decorative piece, or this coffee table is a piece of shit. That's how I was for a while. I would just stuff it away to where I can't see it. And then literally the only time I would ever pull it out is when I went to move. Why am I lugging this shit around, Yeah. But are you the type that pairs your socks? Do you like pair them up when you put them when you're doing laundry?
Do people?
I'm just asking. Let's open discussion here.
Yes, I pair my socks.
Absolutely,
yes.
yeah.
Okay,
you have to.
I used to do that. I really did. I'm
pretty sure it's illegal to not.
I don't do it anymore.
Do that.
And here's why.
Because all your socks are the same?
Correct. I buy the exact same socks, rocking the Hanes or the Nike, so I know I can match them that way. Okay. So when I only wear black socks. I mean, dress socks, they have their own place, but in the sock drawer, everything's the same. So I can just reach in and grab, and I'll chances are I'm going to get the same. So I had to throw it out there. I'm not a person that rolls their socks, and it cut down my laundry time by maybe a minute and 47 seconds.
I have a
that's
fun
actually
game.
a really good idea.
That is.
I think I'm going to start doing that too.
All right. Let's see. We're getting somewhere.
All right, that's it. So when I get home, I'm going to toss out all my socks. I'm going to get like 2 or 3 racks from Costco, and good to go. Done.
Just the same ones.
'Cause I hate folding my socks. I should do the same thing with my
It's just
boxers.
time consuming.
No, but what makes
Get all the same
socks- Oh, wait,
boxers?
hold on.
Imagine Kevin's closet. It's not just socks, but he has like 15 pairs of identical pants and shirts and like jackets. And then he never has to fold anything. Just pick one clean, swap out a dirty one with a
The
clean one.
Doug.
He's good to go.
Do the Doug, baby.
Oh, yeah? Hey, you might be giving me an idea here.
Yeah, you never know.
Just get 15 pairs of everything.
Right.
So to make sock folding more fun, one thing that I do is after I roll the socks, I have the drawer open, and you fucking free throw those bad boys in there.
Yeah. There you
Well, it
go.
depends if with the vicinity of where you're, because are you doing the laundry as it's coming out of the dryer? Because as I pull things out of the dryer, that's what I'm processing, right? This has to be hung up. This is going in the
Oh,
dresser.
see, I take the hot pile and dump it, and then get my shirts and get my shirts straight.
I do it right out of the dryer.
I can't. My dryer's in my basement. Like I gotta leave it upstairs. So.
Yeah, so there is some logistical issues with that, I suppose. So how do you do your laundry, listeners? Let us know.
I mean, there has to be a better way than how I do it.
I mean, is there though?
I don't know.
If it works for you, maybe there isn't.
I remember one time when I was a snarky asshole as a young person, and my girlfriend at the time, she was like doing her laundry like she normally would, and she would take one shirt and she would go hang that one shirt,
And then come back to the dryer.
Yeah, and then she would go back and then go and then
Hey, exercise.
and I'd be like, why don't you just like grab a bunch of hangers and then hang all your shirts and then hang them all up at once? Mm-hmm. She's like, that's not how I like to do it. And that was like my first lesson in there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
You know?
This is
A
true.
lot of times you find out some good new ways. Sorry, I'm loving this rabbit hole that we got ourselves into. It's funny.
You never know what's going to happen with some beers on this show.
Oh, my
We're
God.
talking about sock rolling. I mean, come on.
All I know is laundry is look, I shower daily, all right? Every single day. For the most part, I might skip a day or two a week, but
You heard it here first,
I'll wear a shirt 2 days because I'll be working at home. Like, what's the point? The shirt still smells good. Like, I'm trying to decrease my laundry usage. I'm trying to be greener for the planet, so I rewear. But the area where you can't rewear is your underwear, right? Like, you don't want to rewear underwear or socks.
No, socks for sure, 100%. Underwear, I've gone a good 48 in the same pair as long as I don't have any incidents. You know,
Right.
if I didn't have any
Any
tamales or something, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like if I work out and then it's off again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean you got
There's a large amount of sweat.
swamp nuts. You can't get rid of that. But here's the thing:
That's illegal.
free plug,
Someone checked.
free plug here. Dude wipes changed the game for me. I bought a whole case of those damn things, the mint ones too. I'm telling you right now,
So
man.
You got a minty asshole.
No. Well, it's like a eucalyptus mint, and I might have a minty asshole. I'm not real sure.
Yeah.
I haven't really taken a good whiff,
Whiff recently.
but it's nice on the go. Like if you're, maybe you worked out and like, okay, I don't have. It's like a good quick little cleanse. You just get in there and just kind of clean up some of the debris, if you will. Because I don't know about you guys, but dingleberries are an issue. I got a hairy asshole, and that's not something I attend. I
So
don't.
shave your ass, man.
You think?
Yeah.
That scares me.
Wait, hold on. No, but
gotta-
do you have a hairy, a forbidden forest down there? Is what I like to call it.
This is going off the rails.
All right, because
my God.
here's the thing: is if you shave that mofo and then it starts growing back in,
It's coming back in 2 times stronger.
dude, it's very unpleasant. Like you think about how the beard treats you, or like any of the regrowth hair areas,
The forbidden
I
forest.
don't know how true that really is. Like, I just shaved my chest for the first time, like last week, and so far, it's looking all right. So I'm not entirely
Did you take it down with a straight edge, like straight up, or did you like electric shave it?
Oh, no, I used a straight edge.
Okay.
Well, no, actually, no, I didn't use a straight edge. I used just a regular razor.
okay.
Like,
Go
I was
with-
like, you're a madman. Right?
yeah.
Straight shot.
Sitting there like Hannibal Lecter.
yeah. No.
Oh, jeez.
I've never been brave enough. When I got my first chest hair, I really embraced it. All those mushrooms I ate. I got to get the beef. You got to have the beef hanging out.
Right.
I'm about it. I've never had the balls to shave my chest.
So I did something that was against the label, and this is when I was young. I was trying to impress girls.
Oh, I know this story.
And I felt like that having hair in that area in your ass crack was was extremely unattractive. So I nared my ass.
Wow.
All right.
I've never heard that phrasing before.
All right, and that.
Well, you remember Nair, right? The hair
it
removal.
worked.
Yeah.
It worked, and I'm sorry, Darius, that you're in on this episode and we're talking about this.
I'm not. I think this is fantastic.
I'm sorry,
Did
listeners,
it
that I'm
hurt,
telling.
though? Like
No.
it's like an acidic.
It's a wipe away. It just-
Really?
you-
Oh,
you put-
Nair. I'm
Yeah.
thinking of like that stuff that like the shampoo that like dissolves hair.
Oh.
Or whatever that crap. I don't.
How does it work
like-
though? I mean, the Nair.
I don't.
How does it remove the hair?
It's just like I think it's like so it's like micro plucking the hair. It's like a really porous material, right, or something, and then it just like grabs onto the hair and like it just gently plucks them or shears.
It does,
I'm not
dude.
sure.
No, because when I wiped it away, it was just like with a towel, like
and all of it came out.
clean.
But so what was the end result? What did you have to deal with for the next week?
I mean, that wasn't that bad for the next week. I hate saying all this on the air, but like
Too late. We're here.
You know,
It's too late
I
now,
feel
yeah.
I feel like hair silences farts a little bit, okay? Because it gives you this extra stuff to work through. And when the hair was missing, there was no like filter, so it was like whoop, and it like made this I had bubbly farts. They like sounded more bubbly. And so now those girls with the big fat donkeys, like I understand why it sounds like that, and that's okay.
Hey, everyone's going to have different sort of flatulences, and I guess I don't know if hair would have an impact on that or not, but I've never.
I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm like still processing. Like, you're not wrong. I'm just still mad about it for some reason.
Yeah, so I guess we got on this because I have a dingleberry problem, so the world knows
God.
that. It's not a problem. It's just that the dude wipes help reduce the situation that occurs. And
So Darius is
important.
way smarter than us. Okay.
Yes, we know that.
Yeah,
That's
he's
not
way
true.
smarter than us. This man.
We're shifting gears.
Yeah. We're changing.
Are you
the
sure?
subject.
Are we really sure we've nailed this subject?
I feel
already?
like.
I think this could go on for a while.
Do you have any questions?
No, but I will say I agree with Kevin. Like, I mean, the sanitariness of the behind is very important.
It's crucial.
Yes.
It's absolutely crucial, and like
You'd be surprised how much debris is in there.
yeah, and like I hope the dude wipes are at least like flushable.
They
you
are.
gotta be careful.
But see, if
Septic
you own your
system's
home,
important.
I'm assuming you own your home.
Yeah.
So in that I rent. So for me, I'm kind of being that selfish asshole. Like that's someone else's problem.
At this point, hopefully, most of the modern apartments are adapted with their sewer system.
Yeah, I would
Mine
hope
is
so.
not. Mine's a little bit too old for that. Yeah, I know
So I would be
personally.
cautious of that. Flushing. They say they're flushable, but if I own my own sewage system, I don't know that I would put them down there.
Yeah.
Then
I
what do
can
you do with
speak from firsthand that don't. If you have a girlfriend that flushes feminine products down the toilet, kindly ask them to stop doing that.
Yeah,
'Cause that
that's
happened to me like a couple years ago.
and it caused an issue, huh?
Oh, it caused a huge.
Was it like a thousands of dollar issue?
No, it was more of a complete like the entire septic line to the sewer got stopped up, and we were kind of in checkmate mode, and so it was.
Did you start backing up? Is that how you knew there was an issue?
Yeah, luckily it didn't overflow a ton. It did cause a little bit of flooding downstairs, but we, like, I had no choice because it was like we were stuck with no plumbing basically,
Yeah,
and so I had to just blow the $600 price to get a Roto-Rooter out there.
and just clean that sucker out. Yeah, our old host Jamie, the house we used to record in, he does pipe repair and stuff like that, and that's the number one thing he says is do not flush feminine products because you're gonna end up like
or any
in
of the
your
wet
situation.
wipe stuff, any of the wet wipe, even if it says flushing safe or whatever.
It's a gray area. Some of them are more degradable than others, but
and it depends how much you overload it too, right? So like if you put one through and then just kind of run it, a couple times, and then you have some fluids running through. If you're hammering it with dude wipes, I mean you're asking for trouble.
right, for sure. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. You were saying how smart I was.
Oh, I mean, this guy's epic. All right, so first of all, I met Darius. It's not Darius, it's Darius.
Darius, yeah.
It's Darius.
Darius.
And I had to like train myself to say it right. But I met you on an airplane. We were both flying out to Seattle, leaving Denver, and you were studying the whole time, right?
Yeah, that's right. I love YouTube Premium, and all of my lectures were on the app, or I saved them onto the app. So I was like, I'm going to be on this plane ride for 2.5 hours, 3 hours, whatever. Might as well just get some work caught up, and so I did. It was nice.
And then so we both put down our books. I was trying to read some mindful shit, and then
like
we
the
started
last 30 minutes.
We
it was
started
like-
chatting, and it was cool, man, because we started talking a little bit of why we're out in Seattle, this and that, and then like when we're coming back.
Yeah, and that's when it kind of clicked. It was like, when's your flight?
Wait, you guys
And
flew
it's-
out and back together?
Yeah.
Whoa.
It was like we just started talking, and he mentioned that he was coming back on the same day I was. And then I asked him, I was like, so when's your flight? And then sure enough, we had the same flight. And then after
That's
that,
crazy.
we exchanged numbers.
It was like fate.
It was. And then even more fate, we were like one of the last, that weekend that we flew back to Denver was the same weekend that Southwest had that mysterious, magical
2,000 cancellations.
Yeah, absolutely devastating.
The weather that wasn't ever really found.
Right, that no one else had to deal with except for that airline for whatever reason. And Art and I were like one of the last planes to get out. And we still got delayed by 2 hours because they didn't have enough crew members to fly out. And I guess they have to have a certain number of staff.
Yeah, it's like 6 members or whatever.
Yeah. Turns out you have to have a minimum of 2 captains to fly the plane or whatever it was. I don't know.
We were missing a flight attendant.
That's what it was. Yeah, and I guess for safety reasons to man the emergency exits or whatever, I assume, I'm making this up as I go, that
Sounds legit.
they had to have a full staff.
Yeah.
So we ended up having 2 hours to kill, and of course we're at an airport with nothing to do. I guess we're going to go to the bar, and that's what we did.
That's a great way to be.
Yeah, and then we just shot the shit, and that's how the podcast stuff came up. And I noticed it too on your shirt when you flew out. I honestly... My first impression was maybe he's going to like a YouTube convention or something. I was like, maybe that. This sounds about right. He seems like he's got the shirt. It's got the YouTube logo. Maybe he's going to. Like,
so I was flexing wearing the DCPCT.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
And so that's where I got the idea of like maybe he's going to a convention or something. And that was pretty much it. And until you brought it up, I think that was the first thing you asked me. It was like, so what are you studying? And then rest is history. And here we are.
It's good stuff, man.
It was epic, and I know you have an airplane story as well, but yeah, dude, we totally faded a lot at that airport bar.
Got a nice
we
tip
were
on.
so bored. Like there was nothing to do.
And I'll always remember this story because on the flight to Seattle, you were saying like how you like had these you're taking shots or whatever, you're drinking shots, and I was like, bro, you got to hook me up on the way back. and then Darius like freaking remembered and you're like trying to find a place to buy shooters
right. I was like,
for hours before the flight.
Right. I remember on our way back, I was like, I told Art I would get him a shooter, just like just a symbolic thing. I'm not hounding out of my way to grab drinks. It was just like, I always like to
You told the guy, you said it.
Yeah. And so I was like, and then I remembered, and I didn't even remember until like I got on the subway heading over to the airport, and I was like, I gotta get the shooter, otherwise I don't even know. It was just like felt like I had to because I told you I was gonna do it. And then I ended up finding a liquor store right by the airport that I had to walk like a half or like a mile with my luggage. It was like right there.
That's a serious commitment.
And, I had to do it. Like I told him I was going to get him a shooter, and I went there with my luggage, and I was like, "Can I get that shooter, please?" And later was just like, "Yeah, all right, here you go." And then I walked all the way back.
Damn,
it wasn't a mile. It was probably like half a mile or something.
So a mile round trip.
Yeah.
Either way, that's a pretty good, 5280 feet walking that
important.
for a shooter.
I'm a man of my word. I want to be able to,
you earned respect. That earned respect for sure. I was like, this man.
That's a class act.
Yeah, he fucking said something and he did it. And you don't meet too many people that do what they say. You know,
there's
a lot of
usually
people talk
excuses.
a lot of game. Yeah.
Yep, and there'd always be an excuse. Oh, I ran out of time. Sorry, I couldn't do that for you. No. This man trucked it a mile for a shooter.
I know. So I need to let you know I still appreciated your efforts. To this day, I still appreciate those. I appreciate those efforts, man.
Hell yeah, man. No, it was fun. It was I'm glad that it all worked out. I also, while I was on my way there, I was like, how am I going to explain to people that I missed my flight because I was going to a freaking liquor store? Like, what am I going to do
for a
if,
shooter?
like, for whatever reason, I don't make it back and I miss my flight? I was like, I'm going to be the stupidest idiot.
Then at least it got delayed.
At least it got. I mean, we were fine. We were both sitting in there waiting, and then all of a sudden,
then it got delayed.
Oh yeah, we were fine, scotch free.
So I mean, I guess the moral of the story to all that is, you were studying, I was reading books, but we put down that, and then we didn't pick up our phones. Excuse me. We actually talked to each other, and then we got to know each other, and then we figured out so much. Like, damn, we're taking the same flight back. Hey, let's exchange phone numbers, and like all this came from being aware of our environment, and so look, there's a bunch of weird people in the world. I get that. There's a bunch of sketchy people in the world, but let's put down our phones a little bit and let's experience life. Let's meet some new people. I mean, like if we didn't chat, then this conversation wouldn't be happening, and it's awesome. I mean, you have a great energy, And it's amazing what what we could all find if we put down our phones a little bit.
For sure.
So true.
And all it started with you just asking me like, so what are you studying over there? That's not what you said. That's not what you said. That's me paraphrasing. It was just like, what are you working on? That's what it was.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of got into it. So it's crazy. Those serendipitous moments are incredible and pretty rare for me, honestly. So
they are rare. It's I wouldn't say once in a lifetime, but meeting people in an airport is a unique experience because I've met. I mean, I fly a lot. I talk to a lot of people, but very rarely. That's as far as it goes. It's very rare that I continue to have a conversation with this person. And so my other podcast, Mash the Gas podcast, which we're starting next week, all you NASCAR
Everybody
fans.
got to check that out. Mash the Gas podcast.
We're back.
It's a banger.
We're back. We're making some improvements. It's going to be fantastic. So my co-host Jeff Davis from Dallas, Texas, we met in an airport. We were both at a NASCAR race, Kansas City, Missouri. And we were flying back. I had a Jeff Gordon hat on the plane, sunglasses on because I was hungover, and that's usually my sign, don't sit with me on Southwest. Right? I'm just fuck off mode.
Yeah, go away.
And then he was wearing a Gordon hat, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll talk racing on this flight. Here we are 10 years later, great friends, co-hosts of a podcast. Wow. So you just never know who you're going to meet in an airplane. I mean, that's the fun thing. Or really anywhere in life. But it seems like airports, everyone's traveling, so there's experiences to talk about. You're getting out into the world, whether it's for business or for leisure. And I just think it's fun, man. And so to echo off your point, putting your phone down, have a conversation with the person next to you. And, sometimes we don't want to. You got your earbuds in and just you don't want to talk to people. But, hey, I think it's a fantastic experience.
Pretty good environment. A lot of people, a lot of waiting. Mm-hmm. What else are you going to do?
Well, generally, like if people are on a flight, like, they normally will have money to afford that flight. Mm-hmm. They are outgoing enough to want to experience something new. So it's not like you're not dealing with like the neckbeards of the world that just are judging everybody else while not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? Like people who are traveling are more than likely going to be doing stuff that is fun.
Right.
Yeah, generally speaking, and even if it is for work, it's fun to because like my old company flew me out to Philadelphia for 6 weeks, right? So I'm going out there to work. What a great experience, So even if it isn't for leisure, it could still be a fun time.
That's true.
So, I guess the fact remains is put down your phones, talk to some people. You never know what's going to happen.
A little bit of socializing can go a long ways.
A couple months later, you might be on a podcast. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, this is a dream come true.
Well, that's cool, man. I appreciate you coming down and having some beers with us. So
absolutely.
We talked about, our hairy asses and sock rolling and plane trips. Let's talk about the brains behind Darius over here. And, I know you can loosely, what you do for a living. There's obviously some things we can't discuss, but tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Sure. So I've been at Lockheed Martin as a RF antenna engineer for 6 years now. I've worked mostly in just, I work for the space systems team. So anything that gets shot in orbit, more or less, which is different from like deep space or like any sort of flight instrumentation that's on the ground.
So mainly like GPS satellites that are in orbit.
Yep, you got it. Anything that goes into orbit around Earth is stuff that I have potentially touched.
Tremendous.
And so with the Space System Group, in a nutshell, I do a lot of analysis and building work with just the radio frequency side of things. Anything that requires transmission, whether it's the antennas that get stuck on the thing, stuck on said device, whatever that's being shot into space, or any sort of payload. That's just in the realm of what I usually do. Then I was a CP for a good amount of time, too. That was an interesting experience. That's a certified principal engineer.
And what is it? Sorry, just your shirt, the Real-Time Options Academy. Mm-hmm. Is that like a side thing you're doing too, or?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm so ADD, man. I cut you off there and asked about the shirt. God,
you're good. We'll circle back to that a little later if you guys are interested. But the shirt is Real-Time Options Academy. It's just kind of a side gig that I do. I didn't start this. This was actually a friend of mine that I met at Lockheed who ended up becoming my mentor for options trading, net options selling, actually. He's very experienced in the field, and ironically, he's a kind of guy that, in a sense, Lockheed Martin was he put so much effort into both his job and then this side gig. In a lot of ways, I would almost argue that Lockheed is his side gig in a sense. But just with the amount of effort that commitment that he has to both, he's a brilliant engineer. And he started up this company, and I'm not a partner with him, but I was more or less kind of a mentee. He sort of mentioned me in net option selling, in his strategies, and got me involved with just developing this academy, if you will. And so it's a little bit more than just, I mean, it's changing. Right now it is real-time options. You can go to it at rtoptionsacademy.com if you're interested. It's really geared towards a little bit of the academic side, teaching people how to do net option selling, as well as just a lot of different trades around the options world. Specifically, like the fundamental strategies that they go with are, it's not like you're not counting cards at the blackjack table. You're the house. The odds are always in your favor no matter what game you're playing. That's the kind of statistical-based trading that they're going with. They have certain strategies that give traders the statistical advantage, along with some skill and knowledge. Obviously, there's no way you can just do this off numbers alone, right? A little bit of news, a little bit of this, that. Sometimes you get unlucky. You never know. But the idea behind it is that you have control. You have a lot more control over your rate of gain. You can, it doesn't matter if the market is going up or down. You can keep a continuous climb in profits, no matter what's happening. If the trade doesn't go your way, you can adjust and compensate for it. If the trade does go your way, fantastic, you just made money. And so it's kind of like this style of, instead of just, I mean, you have a million people that do this, right? Newsletters that like want to fart out stock news and tell you buy a shit ton of this or do that, so on and so forth. With this, it's more taking, like, you want to listen to the numbers, not the noise. And it's probabilistic trading with a spin to it, I think. There's a lot of, I've learned so much through this program. And there's, God, what else to say? I mean, I mean, personally speaking, without shilling it too much, like, it's made me a good amount of money, but,
that's what everybody wanted to know.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah, of course. Has it made me money? Absolutely. Nope. Just kidding. I lost my house, my family. It's ruined. No, it's been an excellent. It's been an excellent system, really, for just looking at controlled gains. I mean, you guys know, you guys are familiar with options or just option trading?
Yeah, I mean, I've dabbled a little bit with options trading. I'm more into crypto stocks, mutual funds, ETFs. That's what I trade, based on, support resistance lines, RSIs. Those are my indicators that I use to trade. So options for me, I understand the put and the calls, but I've never really dove too deep into that world. It'd be something I'd be interested in, though.
It's pretty cool. A lot of people are scared of options trading, and I think it's because most people just understand them at the bare bones of a naked call and naked put, which are you can make so much money if it goes your favor, or it can be absolutely devastating if it doesn't. The analogy I always like to use, and kind of what I do is say, so Art, you're the seller, I'm the buyer. Let's say I have a house, okay? The house is worth, and I'm just pulling these numbers out of my ass, but the house is worth $500,000. And Art comes along and says, hey, Dart, I'll tell you what. I will give you $10,000, and in exchange, you will agree to sell me the house at $550K in 3 months, if the price of the house goes to $550 or above. So 3 months goes by, turns out a really nice elementary school gets built right next to the house. Equity skyrockets through the roof. 3 months is not enough time for this. This is not realistic. Pay attention to the metaphor. Now the house value is $600,000. So now Art's contract has been fulfilled. He gave me the $10,000. The $10,000 is mine. It's mine forever. But now he comes back after 3 months and says, hey, the contract has expired. The price of the house is at or above what we pitched earlier. Pay up, bitch. And at that point, I have to sell Art the house at $550. Even though the equity is 6 or 7, who cares? I have to sell it to him at the agreed price. So in this case, Art just made a ton of money All right. Well, really, he made 50,000. If house value is 550 and he bought, or house value is 6 and he bought it at 550. You get the idea.
Right.
He made a ton of money. I'm screwed in this situation. But like that's the gist of what that's a call right there. Art just sold me a call contract. The exact opposite is the case for a put. The analogy kind of falls apart there, but you get the idea.
Yeah, same thing, essentially opposite, right? So
Right.
You're saying, okay, now it's going to come down in value by this time, right? Almost like short in the market, right? This stock is going to tank X amount of dollars by time, in this time frame.
Exactly.
Okay.
And now the difference, the only to kind of wrap up the what happens is, in no point during trading through Real Time Options Academy does anyone get screwed, because if we go back to the house analogy, say I buy a contract from Art, at the same time maybe I'm selling a contract to you, Kevin, at $500 value higher or lower, so that at one point in time I'm both buying and selling a contract, which means no matter which way the price goes, the net difference is $500.
Okay.
So that's the most I can lose, because if one contract busts and I'm out of or is in the money and has to get executed, the other one busts, and I can sell both as a net value. Basically, it's kind of like it doesn't matter what the value of the contract is, but the one thing that's certain is that the contract price between them is $500. This is kind of breaking apart a little bit. My point is that there's safeguards in place.
Okay.
So what it ends up being for these scenarios is, I make per deal, per option, contract, bundle, option burrito, if you will.
Option burrito.
I'm either gonna make $150 or more, or I'm gonna lose $500. And the strategy is about reducing the percentage chance of me losing that $500 every time. So, you do the math. I'm not saying it's always 150. It might be 200, 300, whatever. My point is that you end up, through the strategy, you are reducing your risk as much as possible, so that you maximize your chances of gaining money, and you minimize your risk. Even if you're going to lose 500, you can do certain things to make that max risk 400 or 300 or 200. So the point that your earnings will go over or your earnings will far exceed your losses. So it's very active, and this isn't anything new, but it's just a cool new dynamic system, and they're moving to a new platform called New Phoenix, which we can put a link in or something if we want to. That's to rebrand it away to make it a little bit more less just an academic thing, because it's really like I haven't made a ton of money. It hasn't changed my life. Well, I have made a ton of money, but it hasn't changed my life or anything. But they're shifting away from just an academic standpoint and moving more towards the technology side, having your own platform that you can monitor your trades, see your history, do analysis on the correlation between which stocks are you in, which options are you in, do you have risk, are you too much in the tech side, oil, etc. Minimize risk to your profile. It's really exciting stuff, and I really just want it to succeed. I'm not a partner in this or anything. If anything, I'm just a student, kind of one of the first people that I started learning
after
this.
he hears this plug,
Hopefully
you're gonna have a leg to stand on there.
we'll
Yeah,
see.
I like the sounds of it.
It's very interesting. It's a little bit. I personally, again, what I said before, don't listen to the noise, listen to the numbers.
Exactly.
And boy, oh boy, does that decrease my stress a lot. There's no crystal ball. I don't have to watch the news every day.
Right.
You're looking at direct correlation numbers, and indicators are part of that, for sure.
Of course.
But indicators more or less reinforce your decision, not dictate your choice.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
that's a good way to word it. When I did a stock trading class earlier this year, which was really just focused on day trading kind of thing, swing trading, learning how to read the RSI, looking at what the MACD is doing, and buying off of support and selling into resistance, right? The basic fundamentals of stock trading. The option stuff I've never dabbled with. I don't have enough, knowledge on it to be confident to put down, a put or a call in any situation. So, Real Time Options Academy might be something that I check out.
It's cool stuff, and I mean, you're right to have some fear to it. You remember? Did you guys ever hear about that poor kid on Robinhood? This poor sap. I shouldn't say that. It's disrespectful. This poor kid. He had an options call on it, and there was some sort of rig in the system, because if you do say a put call, you can make a set amount of gains, but you have infinite risk. You could lose all your money if the stock goes to zero or infinity, depending on the type that you put on there. And this guy had a options call that for whatever reason, it wasn't safeguarded on Robinhood, or it presented itself as it wasn't safeguarded. Because in Robinhood, you have to front the cash for your options, so that if anyone, like going back to the house analogy, if Art is like, hey, you got to pay up, I have the money already.
It's already secured.
It's already secured. I can pay it up. In this situation, I believe what happened is it just either glitched or it just didn't register properly, and he had a balance of like negative $200,000.
Oh, man.
And he killed himself.
So he blew up his account.
He blew up his account, and then he committed suicide.
Oh,
so this was a major story.
I think I do remember this now.
This was I don't think it was less than a year ago, I want to say. I forgot exactly when it was. But it's like...
It's terrible.
Yeah, and so obviously it's a shame and it's a tragedy because it was it was an honest mistake, but like that sort of infinite loss is real.
Oh, yeah.
If you decide to trade a naked option like that, you can be in big trouble. And so... I mean, it's right for you to be careful with it because it's one of those things that if you're irresponsible with it, you can lose a lot of money.
And I almost feel like, sometimes Webull and some of these platforms incentivize because they'll give you 2, 3, 4 times, leverage, right? And so people go, oh, wow, I can take my 1,000 and turn that into 4,000 and go ahead and buy because they're going to give you that leeway. But if you lose that, guess what? That's on you.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
And that's how a lot of these guys make money. They attack because anybody can trade now, right? That's the difference between, when the NYSE was just... You had to be a stock trader. Anyone can do trading now, whether that's TD Ameritrade, Webull, Robinhood, and I think it's fantastic.
Right, you're over 18. Is it 18 or 21 for stock trading? I actually forgot.
You know what? I don't know the answer to that.
18.
18 would make sense to me.
I think.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll have to fact check that.
If you're at the required age and you have a bank account, you can almost certainly start trading.
I mean, it makes sense, right?
It's really cool.
As long as you're
That's how I
paying,
got
paying
into
your capital gains and dotting your I's, crossing your T's, so to speak. I think it's fantastic. I got into it right as the pandemic hit, when I started trading. And for me, it was I had a good buddy that was like, hey man, this is with this coming, the S&P 500 is getting ready to tank, and it ended up dropping 20 points. So we sold everything into a stable, principal preservation account, and then bought back in at the bottom and saw a 33% return on investment, and within months, right? And so it was at that moment that I said, wait a second, if we can do that, there's got to be a way that I can outperform the market by just simple day trades. Yeah. And I was really active with it. I'm too busy now to sit there and watch charts all day and stuff. So that's where I feel like options trading and long holds might be a better option. So I'm going to look into that, man. And we'll talk more about that off mic, too.
It's super interesting. I haven't quite gotten into trading, but I always feel like whenever I have these conversations, hear people talking about them, that like I'm missing out on it. But there's that risk though too. There's that risk there too. You could lose money. But definitely going back to the day job. All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So radio frequency engineer,
right?
An RF engineer for anything that's in orbit. So like GPS. All right. So there's communications happening from like the satellite to like the cell tower to the phone. So is that RF?
Yep.
Is that considered
That's
RF?
Frequency. That's radio frequency in a nutshell, sir. So I'm dealing with the antenna part of just like how to effectively broadcast the signal and add a efficient enough power to get to the spot it needs to, the cell tower or any sort of a region on the,
from the
satellite.
Okay.
Yeah, or receive said signal. It goes both ways, right? You either are you have to deal with both. I mean, for antennas, transmitting and receiving, if it's from the same antenna is synonymous. You can have a receive signal, or you can transmit it depending on the polarization. And so there's all different kinds of antennas, all different kinds of what's the word I'm looking for? Darn it. All different kinds of geometries that you can use. And it all depends on just what the application is going to be. If you need like a lot of power in one location, like a singular location, or if you want to transmit to like half the nation, and that's really where it, that's really what goes into it. So, yeah, there's a lot of different stuff where there's GPS, telecommunications, military purpose. I mean, like I remember I read this in one of my old textbooks about how. Radio frequency and just transmitting Morse code was around when the Titanic was when it sunk, and that there was a ship within, I think it was 2 miles
Of the Titanic?
of the Titanic, maybe a little bit more.
think
It
I
was
might have read
within
that.
like rescue. Let's say it was within rescue range, but
Because they were sending out SOSs and flares and whatnot, right?
they had flares, but they did not have a transmitter that they could do any sort of SOS with that.
Okay.
And so it's like, it's a shame. I mean, it's not like they were ignorant. This was brand new technology, but the reality of it is that it was within their capability at the time. And so there's a lot of applications with it. My personal opinion is that if anyone is going into electrical engineering right now for their bachelor's, for any of the younger listeners, I can't believe I'm saying that, good Lord. But like
30.
yeah, I know, right? I'm 30 boys. I think it's worth looking into. My personal draft picks would be radio frequency engineering in the field of electrical engineering as a whole. Radio frequency engineering, power electronic systems, or computer engineering. A lot of places call it just computer engineering, like not coding, but just the actual manufacturing and design of any sort of electrical components specifically meant for computers, and that can go as deep as like semiconductor sciences or this and that. But like that's a whole nother universe.
Wow.
Those are my picks.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because what you're talking about is something that every single human utilizes radio frequencies today.
Oh yeah,
Like
It's essential.
It's like a thankless. It's almost like a behind the curtain, but you wouldn't even have the curtain if it didn't exist, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like because like that's almost the basis to all of the type of technology that we have nowadays. Like let's say
it's the reason why we all have libraries in our pockets right now.
yeah.
Infinite information on the web.
Like
You just get it
you're
right now.
FaceTiming someone in Europe,
Yeah.
right? That's radio frequency, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're transmitting off either into Wi-Fi. In one way, like in essence, radio frequency is just transmitting energy across free space without any sort of wires or anything. Doesn't matter if it's Wi-Fi, cellular signals, or a laser. Technically speaking, it's all the same thing. It's all in this broad spectrum of wireless, and then you have different frequencies that categorizes what's what, right? But all of it is under the umbrella of wireless electronics. And so for me, I focus on the antenna portion of that mostly. I mean, I branch out to other things depending on the situation. But it's a really interesting science, and it's going to be here for a while. That and power systems, which is just regulating power to any device ever. Car, laptop, light bulb, energy efficiency, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Those are my two big ones. Ironically, when I got into engineering, electrical engineering, I wanted to get into renewables, and I decided against it like halfway through after learning about it. I just kind of lost interest. Not that it's not, I mean, it's a very important science, and I did some research on some solar panel systems. It just wasn't, I don't know. I don't know how to say
for you.
It just wasn't working for me,
Yeah.
and it still has a long way to go to become really, really viable. I mean, at the time, still had a long way to go. I graduated in 2015, and I know it's absolutely blown up since then. And but it still accounts for a small percentage of the overall power
For renewable energy, yeah.
That's why I haven't even bothered looking into getting a Tesla. Why would I? Most of Colorado's power is coal generated still. Why the hell do I care? Unless I have a solar panel on my roof, it's pointless. I'm transmitting over my greenhouse gas to somewhere else instead of eliminating it completely.
I would agree with you to a pretty good extent. And I have a follow-up question regarding where a lot of these satellites lie. So is it in the ionosphere? Is that kind of where a lot of these radio satellites circulate the Earth, about 90,000, 100,000 feet up, or is it higher than that?
It depends on the satellite and what its lifetime is. So, for example, CubeSats, small little satellites, can be dozens of them. You guys know about Starlink from SpaceX. It's like their whole shtick is they want to launch just a grid of satellites, various elevations, in order to give broadband internet across the globe, or most of it. Okay, so you can the idea is that instead of, and I'll circle back to your point here, the whole point is that you can transmit from laptop or a dish or whatever enough power for a broadband internet connection, hits one of the thousands of CubeSats in the sky. They're actually not CubeSats, but whatever. CubeSat, small ass satellites, if you will.
Now, how big is a small ass satellite? Like a size of a Volkswagen Bug from back in the day?
I'd say they could be as small as this desk, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Again, it depends on like what their lifetime is. Are they just there to collect data and then fall out of the sky, or are they there to stay for generations? It's also a matter of if they're going to be in orbit or go into deep space. Like all these factors, it's just there's so many different variables when it comes to what are you pushing out into space these days.
Now, is deep space anything outside of our solar system?
I mean, I use it loosely, but for example, the Juno probe satellite, which is orbiting Jupiter, is considered deep space.
Okay.
In my understanding.
Okay.
Back to your question, Kevin. Though it was like in that situation for Starlink, you have a broadband connection uploading to a satellite, which then uses laser comm, which is just like laser frequency to just ping each satellite in the grid over until it reaches one that's over the downlink point, say in Europe or something, if you're transmitting here, and then beaming it down, the information has then been received.
Okay.
And this idea is that it's faster to do this than to use sea cables across the Atlantic to transmit the same data. And so in this situation, though, the satellites have to be fairly low orbit, relatively speaking, in order to be able to transmit that fast.
Makes sense.
Too low orbit, then they burn up too quickly and you lose out on money. Alternatively, for like a geosynchronous satellite, something that's like will rotate with the Earth, or will rotate at the same angular velocity as the Earth. So we'll say it'll always be over North America. That's got to be so far away because of how ridiculously fast it's got to go in order to match the Earth's speed.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be like 150,000 kilometers out or something like that.
Okay.
And I'm giving out broad numbers because it's all subjective.
Right. Yeah.
And there's certain elevations that are classified or just for military purposes. There's other that's for commercial. I mean, it's crazy. You know how much like trash is up there right now.
Yeah, the space debris. Like that's one thing I wanted to talk about because, you're talking about putting like this whole Starlink thing and putting all these satellites out there, and like the more stuff that you put in orbit around the Earth, if anything, like even if it's like,
did I say 150,000? That might be a little bit too much. I think it might be between 53,000. Whatever. It's far.
Okay. Okay.
But it, like with all this space debris, like it can make it impossible to even launch another satellite eventually.
It's called the Kuiper effect, and it's called the Kuiper effect. It's the idea of there being so much debris in the sky or in over Earth's orbit that it makes it impossible to get anything out, or you have this catastrophic collision event like in the movie Gravity, where things like, because if you have something collide with one thing, I mean, in that movie, it makes it seem like literally everything is just on one ring around the Earth, which is obviously not the case. But the concept is still true. It's that if you have so much debris, you can no longer exit the atmosphere without any risk of having a collision.
Sure.
And it's really like if one thing does collide with another, it's not the fact that you lose those satellites, is that you instead of two massive objects, you now have hundreds of basically bullet speed or pieces of debris traveling at the speed of bullets now going around in orbit. I mean, the ISS got hit by like a piece of insulation paint that penetrated through 7 of its holes, I think.
Wow.
It's crazy. I mean, it's all relative. When there's no air resistance, this shit will travel faster than bullets.
Yeah.
So we're talking well over, I mean, in some instances, 3,000 feet a second.
Easily.
If we're using that, analogy.
I mean, and it's all relative. Like the only reason it's very rare is because like the International Space Station or anything, they're all traveling the same speed. So, or not that same speed, but like they're all kind of doing speeds relative to that to stay in orbit. Mm-hmm. Even the ISS has to do occasional burns. That means like they have to light their engines in order to increase their altitude slightly because there's ever so just bits of particle of atmosphere slow them down from friction.
That makes sense. So they have to use like a little bit of thrust to accelerate.
They have to recorrect their altitude.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
There's so much that goes into it, man. From the radio frequencies to the just thinking about like the small piece of debris could completely wreck my entire operation.
Yeah, your Facebook's gone.
That's
that would
crazy,
grind the
man.
world to a halt if that happens.
It's crazy.
That's the crazy part is that we're so reliant on it now. This technology, whether that be Zoom, right? Let's look at Zoom for example. I mean, that's connecting people all over the world for important business meetings or doctors or what have you. It's such an essential operation to what we do day to day. If something were to go wrong, like Facebook going down, we see what happened. Twitter goes down, whatever the case may be. Man, it's like
everybody loses their mind.
Everybody loses their mind.
It's why a CPE job exists, a certified principal engineer job. This is something this is the other half of something I did for about a year, but I thought it was more or less a year. It was a very interesting aspect. Certified principal engineer, and every company has this job title. Let me rephrase that. I was not a certified principal engineer. I was a delegate. An actual certified principal engineer is a high level, been in the business for a long time. But the concept of that, instead of design engineering, is being the guy that stamps off on data. It says, I, as the engineer, or in this case, as a delegate guy, I am responsible for this data. I'm looking at it. I say that it's good, and I'm going to give it my approval. And you think it's kind of meticulous because it is. It's supposed to be. And in space, this all is extremely important because there's so little room. There's so little room for error that if something goes wrong, it's all done. You're going to lose your satellite. You're going to lose lives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This all started in 1986. The Challenger disaster was kind of what kicked this off because shuttle blew up. I think it was 37 seconds after launch. 7 lives lost. Arguably one of the worst tragedies.
I watched
in
the
space.
Documentary, but I forget what what caused it to.
So it was a piece called an O-ring. This was a sealant that was on one of the propellant tanks, and the chief engineers at the time were well aware that, or expressed their caution, expressed their concern that it was too cold to fly, that this was beyond the tolerance of this sealant ring. And the real tragedy of the Challenger was that it director influence and media influence, basically this avoiding this being a national embarrassment, instead it became a national tragedy, was that this was a well-known fact. This was documented. Engineers had expressed concern that this is beyond the tolerance of this part, and influence from the director level and beyond basically ruled it out and said, we got to go. We should launch. It's going to be okay. And sure enough, it was too cold, ruptured, fuel blew up, or the propellant. I think it was propellant. I'm almost positive it was the propellant tank caused an explosion. The whole thing's going at like Mach 5, or I don't know. It was going at launch speed. The whole thing disintegrates.
They say in the streets, they say damn fast.
Damn fast is the correct analogy. Yeah. And so from that incident, the true tragedy, besides the lives lost, was that influence from exterior motives got in the way of engineering discipline. And it caused a complete tragedy. And that's what helped bring in this area of CPEs, or what other companies call an equivalent of just, looking over work and checking it, stamping it off. I mean, that exists in the past. The difference now is that in most space industries, the engineer has the authority. I can stamp off on something and call it a day. If I see a problem, my higher up does not have the authority to say it's good, just pass it on. Instead, I have the ability as the engineer to elevate it if I want to, in extreme cases. And obviously, you got to be, this never happens because this is a serious issue. Obviously, scheduling is important. So it's not really you're threatened against doing it. It's just that, you better be convicted with what you're looking at, because, engineers now have the ability to halt schedule. This is not right, and I will not stamp off on this. And I will elevate it over to just a higher authority, basically. Wow. I want, and it forces, the system forces your issue at the highest level, which again is kind of like Challenger level. If you believe that this isn't a fluke, it's not an anomaly, you can't retest, there's something seriously wrong, and then it goes to a higher committee to review, and then it's not passed on, even if schedule is halted. It's going to get reviewed. So that's that's sort of the safe back, and why like Lockheed and a lot of these space companies have such high success rates with their launches, whether it's human lives or billions of dollars up in the sky. You know, it really is that dotting your I's, crossing the Q's, all that kind of good jazz.
Yeah.
Crossing the Q. There's still
there's a Q in
there's
there.
still
Right?
You do cross
crossing
it.
the Q.
You do cross the queue. I haven't heard that one. I kind of like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I never used that phrase before until recently. And
Now,
so it's
now
like-
all the DCPC listeners are gonna start crossing Q's. Everyone's like, where the fuck did this dot and I's crossing Q shit come from?
Hey.
I's need dots, Q's need the cross. This is
That's
important.
true. Otherwise, it's no.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise,
Okay.
it's no.
We need to define the difference. And I was going to ask you, have you seen Don't Look Up yet?
I have not seen it. I've watched a couple clips on YouTube.
Okay.
I think it's an interesting concept.
I liked it.
Yeah?
I did.
Interesting.
It's not typically a movie I would put on. For one, Leonardo DiCaprio is a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
And I really, really thought he played this role extremely well.
Bless this man for getting an Academy Award for Revenant. That was a good movie.
Also a fantastic movie. I remember seeing that in theaters, and that
Revenant,
bear.
yeah.
The bear scene,
Oh.
intense.
It was, yeah, you would cringe. Just like, it really felt like there was a man. It would be like if there was a man in this room just getting mauled by a bear. Just, oh.
Yeah, they did a really good job putting someone in that scenario. You really felt it,
Mm-hmm.
like what the terror that it would be like in that moment. But so if you haven't seen it, no spoilers for the listeners. I recommend watching it because I really think it highlights. What reminded me of it is when you talk about they went forward with the launch anyway, even though there was cause for concern, right? Because they wanted the ratings, whatever the case may be. There's always other outside influences, and I feel like Don't Look Up did a great job at kind of showing what the media does, what the political side of it. These scientists have discovered something, they're bringing it, and they're trying to make it public, and it's like, well, is this really what we want to be freaking everyone out about? In a nutshell, you've seen the trailer, and I just thought
I've watched a couple clips and stuff. I gotta get the gist.
Yeah, it was well done. It was well done. It's a good watch.
So I've heard. The president seems really interesting. I feel like they took, from the clips I watched, I feel like they took little samples from most of our recent presidents. A little bit of Trump,
Yeah.
a little bit of Bush, a little bit of Obama.
Yeah.
Just kind of made it a perfect parody of some of the last eras.
That's played by
we've had.
Meryl Streep, of course.
Right, of course.
Which kind of threw a wrench in the works as well. But to your point, yes, I think it's all of it. And then, yeah, the Trump part, the fact that Jonah Hill is kind of the chief of staff, but he's the son of the president.
Oh,
I thought was,
right.
and I like Jonah Hill, but he really played that role well too.
He's
so
the perfect douche in that
Yeah,
movie, the
yeah.
douche character.
yeah, I like Jonah Hill. My favorite movie that he did was War Dogs. Another one of my favorite
War
movies of all
Dogs is
time.
fantastic.
Such a good movie.
I rewatched that again recently. It's
Good.
great.
So
Yeah.
good, especially if you're a gun guy. It's a fun movie. But
Yeah, there's a lot of I never knew how many different contracts there were, outside of the big boys.
And
You
I
have
think a lot of that's
dozens and
been
dozens.
kind of scaled back since then,
Yeah.
since that time, because that was like 2006, I think, somewhere in there. Maybe it was even earlier than that. It was definitely during the Bush presidency, but those guys found a loophole in a sense where,
Yeah, there was a lot of fraud in the situation. They made a ton of money and they exploited at least at the beginnings. It was a great business idea
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
And then they got a little bit too greedy.
yeah.
Repackaging ammo, maybe.
Oof,
Well,
yeah.
see, that's yeah. But here's the craziest part of that whole story. Spoiler alert for War Dogs. No one has seen it. They didn't pay the goddamn crew that was over there.
You got to pay
Yeah.
your people, bro.
That's what
Right.
blew
You
him
gotta
up.
pay your
He
people.
made the call to the U.S. government. We never got paid. It was like $80,000.
Yeah, that's it. It's drop in the bucket for them.
That's what screwed it for him. But good story.
True negligence on that
Yeah,
one.
big time.
So, man, I love what you do. I'm sure that you've done something in your day job that I use daily. Like, I'm sure a lot of it's classified in like Lockheed and all this stuff, but like it's cool shit, man. Like, you think about like how humanity has grown and become like this top pinnacle species on this planet, and it's because of like technology and being able to like do all these things. So I think it's super awesome, man.
I agree.
And you've been there what, like six years? You say
6 years. Yeah, it is now it's crazy to think. Yeah, I guess I just celebrated my 6-year anniversary like last week. So when I started, it's been a lot of fun, and I think sometimes big companies kind of get a bad rap from engineers. They want to go do their old thing, or their own thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think I've worked in a smaller company before. That the dynamics of the work environment can be very different, but at the same time, like, I think in my own opinion, I think Lockheed has done a very good job of just adapting their work environment and having an understanding of work-life balance.
Well, you get every other Friday, right?
It depends. It's
Okay.
entirely dependent on the sector, and just like for example, I may have that kind of schedule, but for example, I have a meeting this Friday. It doesn't matter. You know, sometimes it is what it is, depending on how scattered off you are, and it just depends. And you could argue, I mean, well, first of all, it's a good thing to have that work-life balance, no matter what. You know, unless you go over to SpaceX, then you're in the slave trade, pretty much. That's a whole nother big of beef is SpaceX, but you know, that's my personal opinion.
Well, we now know you don't want to buy a Tesla. SpaceX. I'm starting to connect the dots here. I get it. I get it.
Yeah. No, Tesla has done some really interesting stuff.
They have.
And you got to remember that there's a huge difference between the satellite industry and the rocket industry, or more importantly, the stuff in space industry versus the getting things to space industry. And Musk and SpaceX have definitely done a good job of putting some ripples in the getting stuff to space industry, and for better or worse. Like, take for example ULA, United Launch Alliance, is a joint venture between Lockheed and Boeing, one of the many different rocket providers out there. They have a very good mission success record, i.e., nothing blows up. They get their stuff to space, very good. You know, they, as I say, cross their Q's and dot their I's, if you will. And that's been great. But in reality, there hasn't been a whole lot of innovation, right? You can optimize and make your rockets more efficient, and obviously we've come a long way since the Apollo era. But there's not a whole lot of true just dynamic. I mean, again, it's like they've become better, but a rocket is still a rocket, right? It's a single-use case. It's filled with gas propellant or liquid oxygen, goes to space, controlled explosion, gets there, gets to orbit, delivers the payload, done. Falls back to Earth. So imagine you've got a rocket that all of a sudden can land itself and be used again. Because that's the whole thing that SpaceX is known for, is the fact that their rockets can deliver a payload to space and in most cases come right back.
With controlled landing, yeah.
Yeah. I like to think of it as like conventional rockets are like bullets in a gun. You fire off, the casing comes flying out, you discard it.
Yeah.
Imagine if instead the casing magically flew back into your gun and just got reloaded and you got another bullet. Or something
You'd
like
have
that.
a bullet boomerang.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think that's and so it's I think it's a good thing. I mean, I can hate on Musk and SpaceX a little bit, but like it's a breath of fresh air in terms of innovation, and of course this is going to drive some competition and innovation, but I mean it is a good thing. The catch being is they don't have that sort of mission success that a lot of legacy companies have. Right, they have lost a lot of payloads. I mean, the most famous one is probably the Facebook satellite that blew up on launch. For a while, they thought it was sabotage, and then they found the real cause. Because of course, it's not sabotage. But so it's the fail fast, improve quickly mentality versus slow, thorough checks. We don't lose payloads. We don't lose satellites like that ever. And if it is, it's a big deal. Whereas SpaceX decides, well, let's just blow up a couple dozen rockets, figure out what's going wrong, and improve it. And it's completely perspective on your point of view, in my opinion, of just what is better. I think they're starting to get that point of crossing that threshold, and becoming, improving their technology. And I mean, I think it's a good thing, but that's why, like, it's hard for me to hate on the whole billionaire launching rockets meme. Like, people can laugh at this and scoff that they're wasting wasting fuel and all this kind of stuff. But I think this innovation and this progression into the space, and adaptation from military to commercial use, is a really important step in the industry. So that's it. That's my spiel on that.
That's good insight, though, man. That's good insight for sure. Especially coming from someone that's in the business. We're just outsiders looking in.
Want to grab another one?
He's eyeballing a Bud Light.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff, man. I mean, there's so many questions I could ramble on with, and I think it's a fun topic because aerospace is important, and I think the continuing to move the needle forward is a good thing because we just discussed, it's such an essential piece of our daily operations.
Yeah.
And we got to keep that operation moving forward.
People do not realize how important. I think that's me being a little ignorant. I think it's very easy to overlook how important space technology is to your daily lives.
Mm-hmm.
Even as something as simple as polarized sunglasses came from the Apollo mission time, or from the Apollo missions, research for the Apollo missions, where they needed to find a better way to like shade their helmets from the harsh rays of just pure sunlight with no atmosphere.
Right.
Which
Like,
is
that's
radioactive.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. You're fully exposed to radioactive
And ultraviolet, I
rays.
imagine,
all
right?
that- yeah, ultraviolet. I mean, the whole shebang. The only big one is that you're just completely exposed to gamma radiation or just any of the big boys that
Cell deforming.
yeah,
Yeah.
anything that can pierce through your body. You have to deal with that in space.
Wow.
We have the ionosphere to thank for that, which is ironic. Kind of a fun fact. Depending on the frequency that you use, cell phone frequency will pass through the ionosphere. But low frequency rays, like things that they use for ham radio operation, like FM AM, or like Morse code, or like ham radio operations, they're all low frequency, so they can bounce off the ionosphere. So they never exit into space. Instead, they bounce off, which is a good thing because then you can go up, come back down, and now all of a sudden you can reach another continent.
Right.
So it's phenomenal stuff.
It is, yeah.
It
I
is.
like hearing about it. And I think that's why my question I asked you earlier about the ionosphere, I had it in my mind that that's where a lot of this radio technology existed, but now you've just elaborated on it. That makes sense. The cell frequencies now pierce through that, your AM, FM, basic, I think even XM. I don't know if they're up in that range.
XM is satellite,
Okay.
so now they're starting to transmit out, but they're broadcasting into like continents at a time.
Yeah.
So it's not a good or bad thing. It's just, what fits the purpose. Before we wanted to use low frequency because it made sense. Now we want to pierce into space because we're going, we want to get a frequency, we want to get information to orbit, transmit it over, and it's just faster than, Morse code.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy to see the inner workings of it, pulling back the layers and seeing it all works. It's the type of stuff I like to learn on here, man.
No, it's super cool, and like it's humbling too, because like you think about even just discussion combustion and us putting it out on the internet, and like because the internet, like YouTube, sure, they have like their database, but they probably like, okay, so for the internet, is all that done through cables underneath the ocean, or is that done through space too? Because I know they have satellite internet and like all this other stuff. Like it's
I'm gonna feel really dumb saying this. I don't entirely know. I mean, it's both. So you have there's an official name for this. I just refuse to pull out my phone for it. It's like the transatlantic. No, that's the Transatlantic Commission.
It's anti-shark biting cables.
Yeah, it's just like thick cables that are lined across the seafloor in the Atlantic and connects most of North America and Europe. You can do, to answer your question, there is that. That's what's done in the old times, and like, alternatively, you can go. We'll call it just generic uplink, cell phone tower, global satellite phone, SATCOM, GPS, whatever. Just some sort of generic uplink, aka signal going into the sky.
Okay.
All right. Hits generic satellite, relays over to another satellite, and then downlink back to its target point.
Okay.
So cell phone example, cell phone, cell tower, uplink to satellite, over to other satellite, downlink to cell tower to the user.
To the
right?
cell, okay.
Sometimes it can be the same satellite. It takes the message, relays it, points in just a slightly different angle. Doesn't like manually just but digitally has like multiple antennas to do that.
Okay.
And then comes back down. That's the gist of it. And that works, right? It's all dependent on the use and like what it is. For example, stock trading, international stock trading is going to use the cables, or used to at least, because that was the lowest latency, the least delay of information. Which for stock trading, or when millions of dollars on the line, that's everything, right? But that's something that Starlink, I'm going through SpaceX, aims to reduce down. Is like, instead they can offer a faster way. Instead of these C cables across, they can do an uplink and just zip it across with something called laser comm. and then back down faster than this sucker can travel through these undersea cables. And that, like, they claim that it's a reduction of latency of like 30% or something. I don't know the exact numbers, but that's a humongous deal.
Oh yeah,
we're talking about like economy and like stock trading on the international level. It's tremendous benefit to the consumer.
Yeah, that's a huge advantage. So to put it in perspective, about how long does it take to transfer information through the sea cable? Just I mean, time frame wise, rough ballpark.
I don't.
3 minutes.
I don't know. No, you can get halfway to Mars in 3 minutes. It's like 6 minutes to relay something there. It's. I don't know. It can take fractions of a second.
Like they say in the streets, it's damn fast.
Yeah, it's damn fast. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, we're talking like you can. I mean, think about it. I can have a conversation with my relatives off of Wi-Fi in Iceland right now, and it's near real time.
Yeah,
so we're still like all this is talking, fractions of seconds to get across.
So if the sea cable is say half a second transmission, now with the what was it called, the laser?
Yeah, like laser comm through Starlink or any sort of kind of. Amazon is doing a similar thing called Project Kuiper.
Okay.
You can you're talking half a second instead. Maybe it's a
third of a second,
20th of a second, something like that.
Huh.
And that reduction in information doesn't seem that significant until you realize, like, we're talking gigabytes of information, terabytes of stuff being transferred globally.
It's amazing to think about how much information is being uploaded and downloaded at once around the world. It's just incredible.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
And with that kind of technology, now it's going to be expanded globally. Imagine being in a world maybe 20 years. I wouldn't be surprised. This is a little bit ambitious of me to think, but like, there's a part of me that believes that in 20 years from now, maybe even less, like I can go around anywhere in the most continental U.S. and I'll have just a Wi-Fi signal, in a sense. Hell, I mean, I have 5G right now, and I pretty much have Wi-Fi wherever I'm going.
Yeah.
We're already kind of there.
Yeah.
That's the idea, is expanding that to anywhere else. And there's a lot of benefits to, poor communities throughout the world that can benefit a lot from that as well. The only shitty part is that it's going to make ground-based telescopic. It's going to make it shitty to use ground-based telescopes because
you're going to have all this shit in the sky.
Yep. And the exposure is long enough that you just get these tiny little bits of reflection of light off this grid of satellites eventually when it's done.
I don't like that idea.
It kind of sucks.
Of having a grid around the Earth, like
it's like rush hour in the sky.
Yeah, I don't.
Hey, pick your poison, man. You want global Wi-Fi or you want a bunch of satellites? You can only have one.
I don't know, man. I feel like all
and have
technology.
a bunch of satellites, or you don't get it. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like technology is
it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah,
really.
it's like passing the line of being, a tool, and we're starting to get used by it, sort of thing. But kind of good segue. If you did have one piece of advice to offer humanity to help everybody be better tomorrow, what would that one piece of advice be?
Buy some dude wipes. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, man. For all of humanity, that's a broad question. I don't know. Drink more water. Get your vitamin C in you. Jesus. I will deflect the question, and if you don't mind, I'll narrow it down to just engineering students in general, because I still get calls from my university asking for me to donate some money, and they're always students, and they ask my advice, and I know they're just pandering to me on it, but I've gotten very good at giving them advice on it.
Okay, so we're instead of giving humanity a piece of advice, you're giving engineer students.
I think that's as good as
piece
I
of
can
advice.
Get. I don't really know what else.
Still,
to
that's
say.
That's a huge portion.
Let's go.
I think that if you're an engineering student, and you're going to do your second year, you're going to be in a situation that the only real way that you're going to pass through your classes and have fun with it is if you actually feel like you have a purpose in what you're doing. I used to be a terrible student, actually. I went into chemical engineering, and I sucked at it. I failed out. And yeah, part of it was obvious. I was a shit student. I didn't even like party that much. I just played video games and dicked around. I wasn't a good student. But like a bigger part of it was that I didn't actually care about. I didn't know why I was getting into this. I had no real fundamental reason of like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing chemical engineering? I have no clue what I want to do with this. I have no drive going with it. And that became clear after I failed. Like, I got good graces from my parents. I was fortunate enough to do that and went and tried again and still failed a couple classes even though I tried. And the reality is I was not trying. I had the false perception that, oh, I'm doing the best I can. But in reality, the motivation was not there. I had to be honest with myself about, do I actually care about doing this? Because the money, even if you go through, the money's not worth it. You know, the money's good, but I mean, who cares what it is? Nothing's worth it if you're not happy.
If you're not enjoying yourself, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? And I've had a few friends, good friends, very smart friends that have dropped out of engineering, not even school, after they got a career, because they're like, no, this sucks. I hate it. And so my turnaround point, and I guess what I would offer to anyone that happens to be listening to this that's also in college right now, my turnaround point was thinking about what I actually wanted to do. And at the time, it was renewable energies. And my perspective of electrical engineering at the time was that it was harder, and it was going to be shittier. But I felt like I would have a purpose. It was wind energy in particular that captivated me at the time. And yeah, I went into it. I got a better group of friends, and I realized that later, yeah, I don't want to get into wind energy, but I found another passion. I found another piece of interest, and that's what carried me through. Even though it required harder classes, even though I had to take different classes that my friends were not in. The simple fact of I had an underlying, and of course I'm not expecting people to jerk off to their study material or like that. It's work is sometimes still work. Studying is still studying. The grind is always going to be there. But like when you feel like you know what your end goal is, even if it changes, and don't be afraid to change it, it makes all the difference to establishing a good career in this industry. And personally, that's why I'm happy with my choice. That's why I love what I do. And that's my big advice to engineering students is make sure you feel like you have a passion for what you're doing. You have a mission. Why do you care about this? And then don't be afraid to pivot from that. If you're going to do something, if you find something that catches your interest, people do it all the time. And they do it twice as fast when they're young. So, don't be afraid to change your subject. And at the same time, there's always a life outside of academia. Don't force yourself to do something that you hate.
Yeah.
Solid advice. And I think it circles back to how we kind of opened the app about not being complacent, right?
Exactly.
Just because you got a degree in something or you went to study, like you said, chemical engineering, you said, this isn't for me. You're going to stay complacent and just do it because you've committed to it. You go, wait a minute, I want to make a change. It's okay to do that, I feel like. Recognize that, hey, this isn't going to work for me. I want to do something that actually excites me, that gives me a sense of purpose to get out of bed every day.
Exactly.
Right? Solid advice, man. I'm with you.
Yeah, I think that's good advice for humanity, too. Like, you had it all there. I mean...
Yeah, it was all there. Just limited down to...
Do something that makes you feel good. Like, look, it's hard. It's hard nowadays. Like, we have all these expectations from society, all these expectations from our family, what we need to do, how much money we need to make, like, we need to have houses, all this other stuff. But it's like, at the end of the day, like, are you enjoying your time? Because that's what we'll never get back is today. We'll never get today again. And if you spent today hating what you're doing, then and you're not changing it, like, that's the difficult thing is to evoke change and be comfortable being uncomfortable. Right. Like that's really the thing is because like too easily we all fall into our own ruts, our own habits, and it's just you're just living your day. It's happening to you, and let's break that chain. Let's not just fall into the job that we think we should have. Let's fall into the job that we love to have. And that's difficult to find because we all need to make a paycheck. Maybe you do the job that you don't love to have
to get to the one you want.
Yes, so that you can work toward and fund the thing that you want to do. Exactly. So I feel like that's great advice to humanity, man. And what a pleasure getting to see you again, man. Like,
it really is a full circle.
Yeah,
this is a fun little little dream come true thing to check off my life box list. I've always wanted to do something like this, and I hope it was as fun for you guys as it was for me.
I learned so much, man, and I love sitting down and learning things every week, and that's my favorite part about doing this. Meeting great people. You know, I crossed the queue tonight, right?
Yeah, cross the queue. No one's crossing T's anymore up in this bitch. It's all crossing queues
That was
now.
a game changer, right?
Diagonal crossing the queues. It's fine. It's just how it goes.
Yeah, it was solid, man, and we love to have repeat guests, of course.
Yeah, you're coming back in here.
I think we have a new friend, so we're probably going to drink some more beers off air, of course.
Yes.
Time's flying. We're already an hour and a half into this app. This is a juicy one, man.
Yeah, this was fun. We had fun today.
We had a good time, man.
We did, man.
It's a lot of fun.
And you know what the best part about doing all this is? The other thing I love? Not one of us has touched our phones for the last hour and a half.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing. We just sit down and have a nice conversation. Mm-hmm. And we're going to keep doing that. We're keeping this train rolling next week. I forget who our guest is, but it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, the guest is going to be awesome. Look, the conversations are awesome. But what's most important is treat yourself awesome. Like, fuck all this Black Mirror bullshit sucking up my damn day. Dude, I'm so fucking sick of it. Like, let's pick up a purpose. This week, this is the challenge. Put down the phone, fucking put your feet into motion, make something happen, do your laundry, clean out your fucking closet, study something, read a book if you've been anything but looking at the fucking pointless scroll. God damn. Like, I'm pissed at myself because I'm susceptible to this, and I am still, and I do fuck up still, but like, that's the challenge this week is let's put the phone down, let's face the boredom of our own thoughts, because guess what? If you are bored when you don't have input, then you don't even fucking know yourself. So let's get to know ourselves deeply, intimately, and then that's when we'll be able to find true happiness and put that bullshit job, whatever it is, onto the side, because we're no longer being complacent. That's the challenge for the week. I
actually forgot what the challenge was. All right, I'm really sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. We can play it back. It's the put down the phones.
Put down the
Darius.
phones.
Put
That's
down
right.
the phone
Yeah,
and do
yeah.
something more productive with that time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
While also applying the 5-second rule. This is one we got to do every week. And the 10-minute rule, like I talked about last week with Chad Hattersbeck, has been such a crucial tool in my life. To echo that again for people that haven't heard it yet, put 10 minutes on your clock, a countdown timer, and see how much you can get done around the house. Start the dishes, do some vacuuming, start a load of laundry. Give yourself that 10 minutes. You don't know how, don't talk yourself out of it, right? We talked about this. The 10-minute rule has changed my life, and I hope it changes yours as well. Darius, what a great podcast, man. Thanks for being here.
It's been a pleasure to see you guys. All right, good to see you again. Good to meet you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
This was great, man. We're going to drink a couple
Loved
more
it.
beers
Yeah,
off air.
We're going to pound a couple more of these bad boys. Everybody out there, be good to yourselves.
You know you deserve it. We'll see you soon.
Take care, everyone.